so much to the Scat Savannah Film Festival. It's so exciting to have you and your film here. Congratulations.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
I've had a great day in Savannah.
Awesome.
And talking with SCAD students and faculty. It's been an amazing day.
Oh, well, that's so good to hear. We're so happy to be able to have so many amazing visiting filmmakers. And it's so, we don't get very many writer, director, and producers, the triple threat coming through here. So do you mind speaking a little bit about what this, with Ben is Back, obviously this is your first role as producer, is that correct?
Formally. I mean, I felt that I was always producing. I think like a producer because I always try to make films responsibly and come in way under budget. It's the best way to get another chance to make a film. It's good manners. So I've always thought producerially. I just knew in this instance that some of my partners were not going to be able to be around all the time because of their other projects. And they suggested it. They said, the work you're doing is at such a producerial level. So I didn't set out to be an official producer on the film, but it just became apparent that was one of the roles I was playing. So that's how it happened.
And how has kind of this whole experience affected the way that you approach your writing and your directing?
I would say I feel emboldened. I feel that I've never written anything that had a mission beyond just being, I hoped, a very moving story. This particular project was born out of terrible loss of a close friend, of a favorite actor, and then near loss of a family member. And I grew up in a family riddled with alcoholism, and while this film deals with the heroin opioid epidemic, I felt that now that my kids are grown up and I've been doing work for other people, taking their stories and putting them in the world, that maybe I could write something original that was urgent and necessary. So I feel emboldened in that I want to make, with my remaining days, the most impactful work that I can. So I feel like I'm just at the beginning of doing what I hope will be my best and most lasting work.
That's so exciting, and that's such a great outlook to be thinking of.
Yeah, no, it part of that came from young people have inspired me. I'm a father, blessed to be the father of two young men, one of whom works in finance, but is so hardworking and so thoughtful in what he does. And then my younger son, Lucas, who's in Ben is Back, is an actor. And because of them, I've gotten to know many of their friends. And then I watched the kids in Parkland this year, their response to that tragedy, and I see young people active, and you know, as this election approaches, I see them engaged in a particular way that is really exciting to me. And I didn't expect that as I got older that I would find so much inspiration in young people. It's why it's been so fun to be here today, because you can feel it in the room. You can feel it in their questions. You can see it in their eyes, your eyes. You can see this fire and this passion to find a way to make a place in the world. And so I don't know what I'm saying exactly, except I feel reborn in a way from this film, but also from people who are inspiring me, and many of whom are much younger than me.
That's awesome. Well, and kind of going off of that, since you have the unique opportunity of really seeing the whole range of the writing and the production, process, what part of that feels the most rewarding? Is it the end result, or is it kind of that initial inception?
No, I remember when I was a parent at the beginning, when the kids were little young, people would say, "Oh, twos are going to be terrible, but they're great when they're 5. Oh, but when they're teen," people always would tell me this and try to predispose me toward this phase is wonderful and this phase is awful. And I decided that every phase of being a parent was never to be again time. That whatever phase we were in, it would change. It's not going to stay this way. And that I made a willful choice that I'm going to enjoy every phase. Some phases are easier, but easier isn't necessarily always the best. So sometimes you're in a process. For instance, there were scenes we had to shoot near the end of the shoot, which were shot at night. They were very emotional. Those were very hard scenes to do. It wasn't pleasurable to shoot those scenes. It wasn't fun. But now when I see those scenes, I go, I'm so glad we rode through the challenges of those moments to get what we got. The moments I end up being most proud of are, and they're in every film, they often have to do when weather intercedes or something happens that no one can control that alters our schedule. So there's a scene in the film where I was supposed to have a day to shoot it, but there was a blizzard and the whole crew arrived on the set, and we realized that we should never have even called them to the set because they had to drive so far, and we immediately sent them home and waited all day hoping they'd make it. The weather was so bad. And the next day they came back, and the set was tense because people felt, we didn't understand how bad the storm was. It was worse than we'd been told it would be by the weather people. They came back the next day, and one of my fellow producers said, it would be awesome if you could do this scene in 4 hours so people could get home early. And I have 12 hours to shoot this scene. And I, for some reason, said, we can do it. And we did it. And it's my favorite scene in the movie. And some because of that, but also because we found a way to work together and found solutions that were so beyond what they would have been. So I would say there are moments in writing that are amazing. There are moments in writing that are just so painful and you feel so lost. There are moments in production that are like that, where you feel like king of the world, to quote James Cameron, and then the next day you may have a moment where you go, I don't know anything. What was I thinking? And it seesaws like that. On this film, the post-production was particularly rewarding because I got to bask in their work that they had done that I couldn't always see when we were filming because the monitors maybe weren't as great, but I could watch take after take after take. So I'm watching Julia and Lucas do these scenes that are they're so alive and vibrant, and there's so much life in what they're doing. And I was seeing things I hadn't seen before. And then I had an editor who was new. I'd never worked with him before. And we had a great time editing this film. But I would say there were moments in filming and moments in pre-production and moments in writing that were special. So I try to love all the stages. Some are easier, some are harder, but easier and harder often has nothing to do with what you end up with.
Yeah.
So.
Well, then my final question is, throughout your career, I mean, there's been such talented actors who come and become a part of the projects that you work on. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio and Steve Carell, and then now Julia Roberts, and then your son. What is it kind of like seeing these actors inhabit these roles that are typically, that have remained inside your brain for a while?
I don't even know how to begin to express what it was like when Johnny Depp, I remember there was a scene in Gilbert Grape that I thought was so good, and I'd written it so clearly that he needed to shout these lines. And then I went to the day they filmed the scene. It was such a good scene, and he played it just the opposite of what I'd written. And I thought, did he not read the script? It's so clear what he's supposed to do. Do I have to act it for him? And then he did it in a way that felt right for him. And now I watch that movie, and it's on all the time, but when I see that scene, I just go, I thought I knew, but he taught me so much in that moment. Leonardo came in, he was 17 years old, he was an unknown, we thought we were going to cast a famous kid. He came in and he gave an audition that, still I can't even begin to describe what it was like to see that work. That became evident. Getting to work with Steve Carell and Juliette Binoche and Jennifer Garner and Joel Edgerton. Joel Edgerton's one of the great actors of all time. Jennifer Garner's amazing. Lin-Manuel Miranda, who created Hamilton, had a small part in Odd Life of Timothy Green.
Wow.
He was writing those songs while we were filming.
Oh, wow.
And he would come out and say, I think I got a good one today. And I was like, a musical about Alexander Hamilton, that's really going to work. And I thought, never going to happen. And then, of course, I went to see it early on. And so I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be as good of an actor as Lucas or Leonardo or Johnny. and I worked harder than anyone I know to be a good actor, and I worked so hard that I think I worked too hard in a way. But when I started writing, what I really had hoped to do was to write the kinds of roles that my favorite actors in the world would want to play. And sometimes those favorite actors were kids I went to school with, because those were the actors I knew at that time, and now they happen to be Julia Roberts and Courtney B. Vance and others, Lucas. And sometimes I'm lucky enough to get to make a film and watch them breathe life, as you said, into people that I just imagined. And the beautiful thing about actors of that level, any actor who you love, is they will bring things that are not maybe exactly what I pictured, but they bring life and love and passion and humanity in ways I could never have imagined. And so I like being surprised. And when I rewatch, for instance, Ben is Back, scene after scene, I'm reminded of the awe I feel for them. It's a very vulnerable and brave thing to be an actor. People think, oh, no, they really put themselves out, and I really believe that if an actor is bad in a film of mine, it's on me. It's my fault. It's not their fault, because they brought it in every way. And hopefully in our post-process, we've done a good job of honoring the abundant and, just incredible choices that they made in a process that was, at times tense, but almost always joy-based and joy-filled. And so on we go.
That's so exciting, and I'm so excited to be able to watch the film tonight. And
yeah, I'm glad you'll see it.
Yeah, it's wonderful that it's able to be here, and thank you so much for you taking the time to be here and for sitting down and talking with us today.
That's awesome. Go SCAD.
Woo.
Take it over, baby. It's yours. The world is yours. Come on.